Have you ever wondered what your beloved Elf on the Shelf gets up to when you're asleep? Well, today we're gonna show you an Elf on the Shelf caught moving on camera, flying, and even talking. Like this video and subscribe, let's get right into it. This clip shows an Elf on the Shelf that was caught sitting calmly on top of the bed before starting to raise its hand. Maybe it has a question to ask, who knows?
If you believe you've seen it all, this clip might convince you that you haven't seen anything when it comes to elves on the shelf caught on camera. This clip shows an elf on the shelf wearing a piece of clothing you'll never believe is possible for an elf to wear, so watch carefully. This clip shows two elves, one wearing red and another wearing pink, sitting on their toy horses, as if they're preparing for a race. However, the elf who is wearing red clothes just starts riding towards the camera. We can only wonder whether the elves wanted to race and got scared of being recorded, or they didn't even plan to race in the first place and just wanted to ride around on their little horses.
He's riding his reindeer. What is he doing, girl? What is he doing? Oh, he's gone.
Got some tears because that's so funny. Only bubblegums.
Wait, he's coming back. What in the world?
An elf on the shelf was caught on camera, actually teasing the viewers. The elf in this clip is seen playing hide and seek with the camera. How cute. Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto the Christmas trees, and it's not a surprise that this Elf on the Shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see this amazing elf find his way up the Christmas tree. For this clip, we have a super energetic elf who starts moving right in front of the camera. The elf looks straight at the camera and does a little dance of joy before starting to walk back and forth. At the end of the clip, it seems that the elf has left the camera, but its legs return to the frame before finally taking off. In this clip, you'll see a cheeky elf on the shelf using a small snow machine inside a house to, well, make snow. More experienced elves on the shelf can just use magic to conjure snow, but this one is probably a younger elf who just wanted to have some fun with the snow machine. So let's check it out.
In our house.
It's said that mysterious things happen in the dark, and this clip shows such examples because a mom who recorded it captured this fascinating moment of her elf on the shelf using magic to fly and teleport all over the place. This is truly amazing. Now we have a clip showing a baby elf riding around a tiny toy car when the elf discovers one of her fellow elves locked inside a vault cage. The owner is shocked to see one of her cutest elves being locked and starts looking for the culprit, but none of the elves confess, so maybe it was an evil elf on the shelf locked up in the elf cage. Let's check it out.
How'd she get in and how did she get out? Yeah, she's looking out, but hey, you know what? She's still smiling.
Now we have a clip that shows an elf who has become pregnant. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen anything like this before. This very well might be the first pregnant elf on the shelf recorded on camera, and luckily the elf starts talking and explaining herself, so let's hear her out.
Now we have an elf who got caught moving across the room, but the elf wasn't moving with a purpose, because later its owner discovered that the elf left them a surprise. The elf made a shoe train and left a note. This elf is pretty creative, but we can imagine such surprises getting tiring after a while. An elf on the shelf was caught on camera lifting itself from the inside of Santa's socks and then started moving around the house until it got to the bag where there was a lot of candies inside. After a while of trying to create a sleeping spot for itself in between the candies on the floor, it finally went back to staying inside of the socks. It's probably much warmer than the alternative. Now we have a clip where this woman tricked her elf into moving. She told him that she was leaving the room, but little did the elf know that there was a hidden camera right in front of it. As the woman left the room, the elf started moving and jumping off the cabinet, leaving a magical trail behind itself. This clip captured an elf on the shelf who's showing us around the house as if he was a real estate agent. This elf is just restless and is moving all around the place seemingly without a purpose, and even goes to the balcony to sit on a chair, but for a moment until he started moving again. Let's check it out. In this clip, we can see two elves that were caught sharing a pumpkin. We all know that elves love sweets, but who knew that they also indulge in pumpkins? Now that's news for us. If you're interested in learning how to catch your elf pulling pranks on you outside your door, you should watch this clip. So here's what happened. An elf was captured on camera ringing the doorbell of one of the family's homes, which was lucky because they had a security camera in place at the front door. As a result, his little naughty act was exposed and he got captured on camera doing the usual mischievous behavior that elves like to do. This is definitely not your traditional elf on the shelf caught moving on camera clip, but it's a fun one nonetheless. The elf jumps off the hearth to attack its owner, and after this intense fight, the elf emerges as the winner, leaving its owner lying unconscious on the ground. Luckily, the rest of the family returned home in time to help the guy.
Oh, I don't think so. Not today. Oh, what? Where did he go? Oh.
Honey, it's Daddy! Oh no!
At least the elf's okay.
Now, this kid practically was informing his father that he did not believe in the elf on the shelf's existence, and we can't blame him, because these days many people don't believe in magical elves. Anyways, this kid was telling his father that he doesn't believe it, and he has no idea what he was talking about. When he returned to his room, an elf on the shelf actually emerged and began flying around, and then the elf on the shelf began to perform various additional actions. Now, obviously, it's just flying around the house and flying around his room, but something crazier happens at the end of the clip, so stay tuned for that.
What is it? What?
He moved.
Who?
The elf on the shelf.
This elf on the shelf got super mad at the kids for making it angry, and it got discovered sitting and flipping one of the kids off. The elf even left a note explaining that it's angry because the kids were behaving badly towards it. And well, while the elf should be setting a good example for the kids to follow, we can't blame it for losing its temper. In this clip, the elf was caught moving its eyes, and it's very rare to see an elf on a shelf moving its eyes, so it's a super special case. The person who took this video hung a candy stick on the elf's little hand. Then they must have looked away or something, because elves don't move at all if someone's looking at them. At that point, you can see the elf moving its eyes, and it's just absolutely nuts, so let's take a look. Elves on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decors, but it seems like the elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In this clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on a Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look. Here we have another clip showcasing elves eating their Thanksgiving dinner. The elves can be seen with evidence of the food they stole right in their mouth. We can't blame them because they might have known that they might not be invited to Thanksgiving, so they decided to take food for themselves.
Well, look at the mashed potatoes. Mabel started mashing them. She's so
Two elves on the shelf were caught moving on camera and having a string showdown on their own. It's hard to know who will win between the two, so pick your fighter and keep on watching until the end.
Up next, we have a clip of an elf on the shelf getting baited by a $100 bill. So the elf's owner placed a $100 bill on the ground right in front of the elf, and the little fellow literally jumped off the Christmas tree to claim it.
Did you see that? You got to be kidding. As soon as I look.
This clip shows an elf who used his powerful abilities to sneak into the kitchen to get his favorite treat. If you don't know, every elf on the shelf has a huge sweet tooth, so their diet is just cinnamon, rock sweets, and obviously Skittles. As you'll see, this elf had the power to lift this massive box to the top shelf and grab some candy, so keep on watching.
In this clip, we see an elf literally teleport into the kitchen, which is an interesting choice for elves to make. The elf then begins to do what elves do best, move around and float around while pretending no one was watching. However, when it realized that someone might be watching, it floated directly up into the camera's lens and proceeded to destroy it because elves hate being captured moving on camera. This one's really crazy, guys. So this kid thought of pranking his elf on the shelf by pretending to leave the room. Little did the elf on the shelf know that he was under surveillance and his every move was being recorded. Some elves are easier to trick than others, but we should love our elves even if they're not moving. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught flying on camera. This clip was recorded by a man who set up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving, and after a while, his elf on the shelf flew into the living room and started moving around, but eventually it did something that will surprise you, so keep on watching. Is there anywhere else that cannot turn into a hiding place? We don't think so. In this clip, a camera captured an elf on the shelf quietly entering the house, but after a while, the elf decided to enter at all costs and hide at a place that will surprise you, so keep on watching. And now we have a clip recorded by a YouTuber who wanted to capture his elf on the shelf moving. As you can see, the elf on the shelf is sitting right in front of the camera, so you might think that the elf isn't going to move because elves usually don't move when they know that they're being recorded. But the elf eventually starts moving and even leaps straight into the camera. Let's check it out.
Unlike any other, like compared to
scared to
flavors,
try.
bro. So imagine if they lived like 10, 20 years, or like a lot of marine life lives a lot longer. Imagine they lived like 90 years like turtles. They would have taken over long ago, dude. Would have been over.
Is this a fact?
No. But, you know, they, in the span.
So wait, dude, look. I saw that. Bro, it moved.
When this girl was sleeping one night, she woke up to strange noises coming from the living room. So she rushed downstairs to see what was going on, only to find herself in the middle of hundreds of elves. It's literally insane, and her elf on the shelf was also present in the middle of the gathering, so maybe it invited its friends over for a party or something like that. I'm really curious about what they were really talking about. Maybe they were just having fun, or there's some chance that they were planning something bad. Well, it's up to you guys to decide, so make sure to keep on watching until the end.
It is lots of elf on the shelf, and I mean lots of them.
This elf on the shelf was sitting still, but as soon as its owner walked past it, the elf started moving. The elf moved a bit and laid down on the side because its owner walked past the shelf again. But as soon as the owner wasn't present, the elf started moving again. This little elf wanted to move so much, but unfortunately for him, his owner was right next to him, so he couldn't risk being seen. For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart.
In this next clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on tape moving and rolling its eyes. The clip shows the elf sitting on what seemed to be the top of the stairs before it started moving to face another house. Then it fell at the same time. How strange is that? These hungry elves are going straight to the kitchen cupboard to get some snacks. Honestly, you'll have to give them credit just for finding where all the good stuff is stored, so you can't even blame them for stealing the food. In this clip, the elves are caught by security cameras taking some sweets, so let's check it out.
This guy is aware that something is going on late at night and that their elf was up to something, so he installed a concealed camera to catch this mischievous elf. Let's take a look at what he's got. Alright, so it enters the room, disappears behind the table, and starts flying across the room. This elf is definitely using elf magic, but following this performance, he goes to the bedroom where the man is sleeping, and well, let's just take a look at what the elf ends up doing. This clip shows two elves who were caught on camera either fighting or playing in some sort of weird way. Regardless of that, the camera was ready to capture the incredible moment between these two elves, so let's enjoy it together. If you thought your cookies were safe in a cookie jar, then you might want to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that has to be taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share. For the residents of this house, elves on the shelf might not be on the budget for next Christmas, and we can't blame them, and neither will you after watching this clip of their elf on the shelf clearly enjoying throwing tantrums and making his opinions known by trashing his owner's kitchen, opening shelves and fridge to rearrange everything inside, and then proceeding to dump some on the ground. Now we have a clip of an elf who started moving at midnight, and at first, the elf climbed up the Christmas tree, and that's when it probably noticed the camera recording it, but instead of running away, the elf slowly made its way down the Christmas tree and approached the camera, giving it a long examination. This elf was really curious about the camera and wasn't afraid of it at all. Now we have a clip where you can see a hungry elf walking towards the pantry, opening its doors and starting to steal food. At first, the elf takes some kind of snack bag and probably brings it to its secret hideout, but then the elf returns to steal another chocolate cake mix. While what the elf did isn't nice, it's still a marvelous clip. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving, but where the other elves on the shelf clips usually have elves moving around with no destination in mind, this elf on the shelf has a purpose, and that's to find its fluffy friend. So let's check it out. Now watch the following clip to see the most badass elf you've ever seen. He went to get some Fruit Loops in the morning when the rest of the family was still sleeping, and the boy who caught him just got so annoyed by what the elf did. The elf even grabbed the marshmallows on the table, so he must be really missing the sweets from the North Pole.
This is mine. Why is he using my things now?
The owner of the clip wants us to share the video before the government sees it and decides to ban it because officially, elves on the shelf are just toys and can't come alive. Anyways, it's just another elf on the shelf moving while the family is sleeping, and we can agree that while this is nothing new, a moving elf is always amazing to watch. So let's see how this one goes. For this short clip, we have an elf who was caught walking on the sleeping dog. This elf likely wanted to play with its furry friend, and in turn, it got caught moving. What a marvelous sighting. Elves on the shelf show that they're not selfish creatures, at least shown by the elf in this next clip. The elf on the shelf was captured on camera laying a blanket on the cold floor with the other two dolls in the house, and even for the car toy. Now that's a caring elf. We can only hope that it also takes care of its owners. We have a clip from a YouTuber who captured this elf on the shelf swinging on the hammock. We guess that Santa doesn't have hammocks at the North Pole, and that's why this elf decided to try its owner's hammock instead. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the clip, because at the very end, the elf just vanishes out of thin air on the hammock.
Thingy-majig, I don't even know what that's called, guys. Wait, where'd he go? Dude, he's not in there anymore. Dude, all right,
This elf is caught on tape for being so mischievous at night. She's wary of being caught at first, only to be caught later as she was captured on camera by flying midair. This happened twice, so keep an eye out for it.
As you might know, elves on the shelf move around only during the night so they can't be seen by humans, but this clip shows something different because it proves that some elves also move during the day and even scare children in broad daylight. Just look at this elf simply chilling at the fireplace. It's one of the stranger clips because it's super weird to see an elf moving in bright daylight, and it even seems to be aware of the fact that he's being recorded, but it doesn't stop him from moving, so let's check it out.
In this fascinating clip, we can see two elves slowly approaching the camera, and you can hear them start giggling as they inspect this device. We don't know why the elves were laughing, but maybe they knew their owners were trying to catch them moving. But whatever the reason, their laugh is really cute.
This elf was captured taking care of a sweet tooth with his fellow elves and making them cookies. This is a very nice gesture, and it shows how caring and considerate these magical beings are. Would you like to taste a cookie made by an elf?
In this clip, we have a security camera footage of three elves sitting on a piano. The clip gets exciting when one of the elves starts moving. It briefly leaves the frame before returning, using its magic to float around. Then the second elf comes to life, jumps up, and even flies for a second. And finally, the third elf starts moving and joins its two friends on an adventure.
In the first clip, the family elf Carol was being asked by one of the family members to tell Santa they'd been really good that year, so they could receive gifts from Santa. But then came the unbelievable. Carol responded with what we think is a yes by moving her eyes in the other direction. Now, according to the family, Carol arrived in their home on December 1st, and just 7 days before Christmas, she moved her eyes, causing them to get scared. But no one should be afraid of elves. They're friendly creatures after all.
In this clip, we have a rare type of elf on the shelf, and at very first it was laying dormant until suddenly it started moving, leaving the frame before returning and making its way towards the camera. The elf gives it a good look before noticing that it's recording, and because the elves are super instructed by Santa not to get caught moving, the elf quickly disappears from sight.
Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf gets his way to the top of the Christmas tree. Trust me, it's truly amazing. A hidden camera captured an impressive display of magic by an elf, and it's nothing short of awesome. Too bad the elf went into hiding afterwards and we couldn't see more of it.
This clip is from a family YouTube channel which captured a unique elf. It's unlike all other moving elves on the shelf because this one is just a giant elf. It must be the size of an adult person, and who knew that elves can grow that tall? Unfortunately, this elf was really angry that it was that tall, and it's just making a mess all around the house, like throwing furniture around. Maybe this elf got fired by Santa and became angry because now he doesn't have a job.
Sounds like it's getting his hand.
Yeah?
What is it?
He almost looks familiar.
Oh no, what's he gonna do with that? Nothing.
Nothing, alright?
Oh, he's gonna mess with the chairs.
Gigo, he's just like you. He is a naughty little elf. He looks
Did
familiar,
you tell
though.
someone to go into the house and break into our house? What did you just do?
You turn on the sink.
You turn on the water. Are you serious?
The water?
Up next, we have an elf on the shelf who appears in front of the camera and then quickly turns its back and walks away from it. A second later, the elf approaches the camera again, but this time the elf is rubbing its hands. The little fellow was likely planning something mischievous because it left its side again, only to reappear with its friend. These two elves keep showing up in front of the camera until their owner enters the room, and then one of the elves just barely stops moving in time to avoid getting caught. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who started moving in the middle of the night, but as soon as it started moving, it noticed the secret camera and escaped from the frame. However, sometime later, it returned and we could see its tiny little legs moving around, until finally the elf gets tired and sits back down in its spot.